Good evening, race fans, and welcome to HBR 28. Tonight, with our penultimate race weekend, we will have 3 laps of the jungle circuit in reverse, looking to total around about 29.9 kilometres and about 270 metres of climbing. With me tonight, I have Gordon de Sandbagger Sloan and Ed Finney as we follow Kevin Frudd. I'll be following Maureen Finney. We have our man on the course as Chris Lambert, and we're also following John Fisher. Gordon, how do you think tonight's going to pan out?
Yeah, I think it could be an interesting one. It's probably a slightly smaller field than normal, but probably partially due to the course. A few laps of the jungle will take it out, this riders, so I suspect it might be slightly longer than some of the previous rides, probably looking at 40, 50-minute type race. Looking at who's signed up, it looks sort of very competitive in the C class. It will probably be where they find a group up, but I do suspect 1 or 2 off the front to get away. Likes a Kevin Frudd is a strong rider there, so we might see a small group peel off the front. And again, towards the back, there's not many too slower riders, so I think it'll be really competitive in the C is where we'll see probably most of the action.
Ed, bike choice is going to be quite important on this route, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of it's going to be picking the right bike. I see a lot of guys on mountain bikes and a lot of guys on road bikes. And, I think the smart choice is going to be that mountain bike, and I'll be following Kevin, and I think he's going to jump out in the front. He's going to be probably out in the lead pack. Greg Williams should be up there with him, and a few other well-known riders. We'll see who else in there, and here we go. James, take it.
Yeah, Maureen straight off into the lead, pushing out big numbers straight away. As we come out of the pens, we will then start heading towards the little signpost that we'll see before we hang a left at the roundabout to take us onto the jungle circuit itself. So I think we've got a lead in of about 6.5 kilometers before we start doing 7.5 kilometer laps. Maureen is definitely well up there, currently in position 4 out of 41, and I think probably trying to enjoy the slight incline before we start going downhill. And obviously, when you're going downhill and you don't weigh that much, it's definitely going to be a bit of a challenge to start with, because really, I think probably about the first 10 kilometers is going to be the best part downhill. So Maureen's going to have to put out some big numbers to hang in there early on. Ed, Kevin shot straight to the front.
Yes, he did. Right now, he's struggling on the downhill. We've got some road bikes pulling in the front, but I think Kevin will just get in the draft there and hang on. And as soon as we hit the dirt, I think we're going to see him, Maureen Finney, and a few others take off on those mountain bikes. As you said, I think Maureen's just trying to hang on to the front group and put a gap between her and some of the other C/B riders. Kevin's a solid, almost A rider, but I think on this course, they're going to be pushing it to really put out any numbers like they might on a flat, where Kevin might be up in the 4+ watts a kilogram. I think he's going to be steadily in the B section. Maureen will probably be in the low B section, but she is category C. But as we do on this race, it's however you end up. So we'll see what happens. Those mountain bikes should start kicking in here now that we've got into the dirt.
Yeah, starting to see them pull away from the Tron bikes already. So Maureen up to the front with Kevin, and I think they're going to start. Oh no, we've got the guy on the Tron bike still hanging on, but he's got to be putting out big numbers just to hang in there. I think it's going to be a very uphill battle, assuming graphically Zwift is actually showing us the bike that they are actually on. We've certainly seen in the past, if you change kit in the pen, then it can still show the old kit to other riders. So I'm going to make the assumption that the guy behind is on the Tron bike, and I think anyone on a road bike tonight is going to be in for a fairly tough ride. Gordon, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so John's in with a big group behind, second group on the road. Actually looks like they're catching up with that front group, which is quite surprising. So But it is, again, that all the mountain bikes have started to push towards the front and gap, probably split the group in half. So there's about half a dozen riders here, but it's actually looking like they might catch that front group, which will be doing very well. I mean, they're pushing over 3 watts up here. There's a slight uphill up to the bridge, so certainly gives a chance for riders to catch up that are not going to get drafted along. Quite interesting. John's doing very well, still pushing out over 3 watts a kilo, so I've not raced with him much before, so he's doing very well holding on with this group. And it looks like, I'm not sure who that Tron bike was in front, but either are just catching up with him, a B Botarov. So whether he continues on that Tron or it might be best to swap if he can, but they are just nearing the top now, approaching that bridge, which will be another attack point, and then it's quite a long downhill to actually the start of the first lap. But right now it looks just all the mountain bikes are pulling away, so I'm wondering whether some riders are having second thoughts and thinking about swapping out. If they're smart, that's what they should do, because they are all just getting dropped. And just as we're reaching the top, John seems to be drifting off the back a wee bit, so hopefully he can push back on over the bridge or just sit up and wait for the next group, because they're certainly a fast group that he's trying to hang on the back with at the moment.
Just a quick word on our man on the course, Chris Lambert. He appears to be in the group just behind our leaders, but we appear to be having some technical difficulties, so I don't know if we'll actually hear from him tonight, but he's certainly in a decent position at the moment. That group behind is not far away at all. But Ed, I think there's been some movement at the front.
Yes, Kevin's pulled away. Heading up that hill before the bridge, he was pushing over 5 watts a kilogram, with Maureen Finney pushing over 4. So she was trying to stick with him. She's fallen back a bit. Kevin's a solid 7 seconds ahead of the 2, which is Maureen Finney, and Chris Lindsay with Dirt. And looks like he's just dropped behind Kay Connell with ZWC. So right now we got Kevin out in front by at least 9 seconds. He's heading downhill. He's pushing about 3.3, so 3.5. He's still putting the power to it, trying to spread that lead out. James?
Yeah, I think when we were chatting before the race and looking at who was actually in this race, we definitely called Kevin out as a big favourite, and it could be a fairly lonely race for him, but he's definitely stretching out at the moment. But back to Maureen, she's hanging fairly happily in a group with her and Japanese rider Kei Kono. We're also seeing a lot of familiar names in the group behind. Greg Williams has definitely made a big push to try and rejoin. He's only 3 seconds back. Also, Dennis Wade, also up the herd, is only 3 seconds back. And Lindsay as well out of the Dirt team, 3 seconds. And then we get back to a bit of a sort of splintered group with Bruce Bortoff, Chris Lambert's there as well, about 5 seconds behind Bruce. Also see that the field is basically shattered completely behind that. What are you seeing, Gordon? How's John doing?
Yeah, so John kind of lost touch with that second group just approaching the bridge, so he's a bit alone at the moment coming down the hill. Interestingly enough, we see a Max Szymanski coming up behind him. So
yeah,
Max is a regular from the herd ride. So I'm not quite sure what's happened to him, because he would normally be in the front group. So whether he was late out the pen or maybe did the old bike swap trip, whatever it is, he is pushing up through the field. So I expect him probably to breeze straight past John. But John's doing fine for it as he is at the moment. But by the time it comes for the uphill, he'll probably get caught by there's 2 or 3 behind. But as you say, that there's not big groups that's splintered quite a lot on this, so it's whether we'll see it continue as in 1s and 2s or whether they will group up into a blob and try and catch the riders ahead. But at the moment, it is just splintering out. With Max chasing, he's about to catch him now, pushing over 4 watts a kilo down this hill. So I think Max will have a hard job catching the front, but it looks like he's trying to do it.
Yeah, with Maureen's now been joined by a number of different riders. We've got Dennis Wade in there, Corey Lindsay, Chris Lambert as well. No, not Chris Lambert. Sorry, he's in a group behind. But Maureen's now in a group of 5 or 6. Also see Greg Williams. So can Kevin stay ahead of a group of 5 or 6? It could be a bit tight. The 10-second lead has now dropped down to about 8 or 9. So looks like they might be closing slightly, and might be slightly better idea for Kevin to sit back a bit on the downhill and then make a bit more of a push on the uphill. But we'll definitely see how this pans out. Ed, what do you think is?
That's what I was thinking. Just as you were speaking, James, I was thinking that Kevin maybe should just fade back into that group and bide his time until the end. He can push some big watts if he wants to. But I don't know what his strategy is. Right now he's 7 seconds ahead. He's pushing 4 watts a kilogram, but it looks like Chris Lindsay's pushing hard at about the same 4.5 watts a kilogram down the hill. Greg Williams right behind him, of course, Maureen Finiette along with him pushing hard. So they are closing the gaps 4 to 5 seconds. So I'm going to guess that they're going to end up catching up to Kevin, and he's going to get absorbed into the blob, and they'll probably hang together through the rest of the race, biting each of their time. So what do you got, Gordon?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting one in the front. They're probably about to reach the uphill, so wherever that draft drops away, and it might be a chance to Kevin to pull away again. Just looking at other riders at the front there with you, there's a Kei Kono that looks certainly a Cat A rider, 5 watts a kilo, 20 minutes, so pretty sure he'll be pushing to catch the front. But back to Johnny, he's back at the bottom now. I think he's probably just started the start of the official laps, so he is completely alone again. So we've got Max Szymanski, he's now 18 seconds ahead of him. Group behind is sort of 20, 30 seconds. But again, there's only 1 and 2s, so I'm not quite sure what the best tactic is here. He's certainly looking at sort of D Gold Trophy, I reckon will be his aim, which he's doing perfectly well at the moment. But whether he can hold this gap to the riders behind, because there is a good chasing group on him. But with the uphill to come, it'll be all to play for. But it looks like he's just passing the banner now, so quite a way to go. That was a 6K lead-in, which is quite long for these races, but another 3 laps is going to take quite a while. So all to play for, but I think going up this hill will find out what's going on, see how the groups splinter out even more, I suspect. So it could be an interesting finish.
Yeah, I think pretty much as soon as we come out the caverns, we're going to see fairly widespread splintering. And I've actually just heard from one of the regular racers, Chris Shelton. He's been in contact with Kevin Flood, really just offering the advice that we were saying just now, to maybe sit back for a bit, enjoy the draft, and then go for a big push towards the end. Gap up front dropped down to about 3 seconds. I think Kevin's going to sit up for a bit, conserve, save his legs for a big push towards the end, or it could even be just a big push on the first lap to make the most of his fairly lightweight stature and great power on the hills. So we'll definitely see how this pans out. Just quickly on Maureen, she's still in this group of 5 or 6, and looking relatively comfortable at the moment, although the heart rate is pushing 180. So she's definitely pushing quite a bit as well. Ed, how's Kevin looking? Still pushing up big numbers?
Kevin is still pushing big numbers, about 4 watts a kilogram, 4.5. So he's got a 10-second lead on him. He's starting to pull on him up the hill. There's a group of 6 behind him, as you indicated. I really did think he'd fade back there, but he is strong on the uphill. So he may just be trying to distance him and maybe see if he can wear a few of them out. I know that's got to be a big push. I know Maureen reasonably well. She's been pushing, 3, 5 plus. That's a good bit of power for her. Some of the other ones, it could be too. That Kei Kono, though, boy, as Gordon said, he was averaging 5.1 for 20 minutes. So he's got a lot behind him. Imagine he's a fairly lightweight rider, also 61 kilograms. So he's a pretty light one. So Kevin, again, Kevin's still 12, 13 seconds ahead. He's gapping him on this uphill. So I'm not sure what his strategy is, but right now it's just ride him into the ground.
Yeah,
Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much looking at the same. So back to John Fisher. He's got a couple more riders round about him now that have passed him. So it'll be interesting to see if he can just blob up with them and try and stick with them. Going up the hills, he's getting dropped off a wee bit here. 2 or 3 riders right with him, but it is just absolutely splintering out. There's not more than groups of sort of 1 or 2 back here, right through the middle. And I think with this climb, we'll really take it out the legs. I mean, I'm not sure how long the climb is, probably 4 or 5k from the banner all the way back up to the top. So it will certainly take its toll on riders, but you can see the other rider. I mean, a featured rider, Chris Lambert, up ahead. Again, he looks like he's riding alone. So it might be a bit of a TT effort, I think, for some of these riders. And just as there's a rider a wee bit back, seems to be sprinting at 10 watts a kilo. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but he is completely alone at the moment. So 2 riders just ahead, just seeing if he can push on and catch up with them. But it looks like they probably see riders. They are pushing higher, 2 to 3 watts up front, probably trying to catch that group with Chris Lambert. At the moment, as I said, I think he will just be riding on his own, a sort of TT effort for a lot of this. We do have a Jay Tusha just behind, pushing 3 watts, so I think he'll try and catch on his wheel on the way up would probably the best bit of advice I can give him for the moment.
Chris Lindsay was up there with the front group, and it looks like he's fallen off a bit. He's right there with Max Szymanski. Szymanski's really made up a lot of time. He's only 22 seconds back off of Kevin, and that's only about 10 seconds off that blob of 5 riders there. Looks a little tough. I think Max might be a contender for Kevin if he can catch up to him. But still, Kevin's 12 seconds ahead. Still pushing reasonably good. 3.5 watts to 4 watts a kilogram. That's right in Kevin's wheelhouse. So he should be able to maintain that. He's probably about half to 2/3 of the way up the hill at this point. Just first ascent. This is 3 laps of this thing. Thank you, James Bailey. Kind of making me rethink wanting to ride this baby tomorrow. James?
Just going back to Max Szymanski, amidst being barracked for my choice of course. So Max is now only just 3 seconds off Maureen's group of 4 or 5. I think we've got 5 in here. Yeah, we've got 5 in here at the moment. Maureen, Kay Conno, Greg Williams, Dennis Wade, and S. Henry, a name I don't recognise. But Max has pulled it down from 40 seconds to an absolutely superhuman effort there. I think something must have happened to him at the start, because I think we've already touched on the fact that he'd normally be up in the front group anyway. So could well have been a technical in the pen. We were keeping an eye out for him to join the pen, and we didn't see him until very, very, very late. So could have been a last minute thing, but he's definitely putting out the big numbers. He's actually joined the group now. Is he going to keep on? Yes, it looks like he's keeping on pushing. He's still putting out 3s and 4s. So I think we could well see Max go off the front of this group, or could just be dragging them along for a bit. We are, I think, probably not too far from the top of this climb now, and then we'll be back to the roundabout and then going back downhill again. So
looks like we're about a kilometer out, I think, James. Looking at it, Kevin's is 24 seconds ahead. He's put a pretty good gap on it, but like you said, Max came on strong. He came in late with no warm-up whatsoever, so that's a very impressive performance by Max. And we're going to see how that plays out. We'll see if Dennis Wade and Maureen Finney, along with a few of those others, can hang with Max as he tries to reel Kevin in. But right now, it's Kevin's pulled back to about around 3 watts, 2 watts kilogram at max. Back 2.7 to 2.5, so I don't know. We'll see. Kevin just hit 6 watts a kilogram, so he's really making a push up to last little bit of this climb. I'd say you're probably looking at about a half a click to the top. Then he'll be probably pounding it down the other side for 2 more laps.
I think the sensible ploy for Max now is, now he's got to this group, Kevin's got a 30-second lead. Max has got a killer sprint. If I was Max, I'd be sitting in this group for the rest of the ride and then just burying it all for the last 200 meters.
I think so too.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Depends if they're trying to catch Kevin. I'd certainly sit in that group for a while. Looking at that front group, there's probably 2 or 3 of them that have the power to maybe catch up with Kevin. As we touched on earlier, the Kay Conno's got some really good figures on Zwift Power, a 5.1 average for 20 minutes. So I'm just wondering whether one of these other riders might see Kevin getting a bit too far ahead and try and close that gap down, or whether they're all just happy to sit in the draft and not wanting to work together to try and catch Kevin will be the interesting point. Back to John here, he's pushing out some good numbers. I mean, I think he's pushing out his max 20-minute effort, and we're only 17.5 minutes in, so give him another 2 laps. I think he'll be doing very well if he keeps this pace up, but he's managed to find a couple of wheels to follow at the moment, just heading up that hill. By the looks of it, he's probably about halfway up, I judge on that, so he's doing very well at the moment, probably going at his max 20-minute effort, so possibly even an FTP increase coming after this, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes for the next 2 laps, but it is just a slog up this hill, which, well, thank you, James. I'll see if I want to race this tomorrow myself.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin's just hitting the climb at the end of the bridge, so he just came off the bridge, and he should be starting the descent right about now.
Okay.
So again, 35 seconds on him.
I'm just looking at the Zwift Power stats as well. Maybe not. It looked like K-Con would maybe try to make a move to catch up, but
he's gone. He's opened up a 3 or 4 second lead at the moment, but he might just be coming back on the hill, which is climbing up the other side of the bridge. And K-Con did open up a 5 second lead, but that's been pulled back in now. Seeing S. Henry throw a little feather to get up the very sharp incline on the drawbridge. K-Con has been caught back. Max and Greg are going off a little bit of a front. It looks like the group's definitely split into 2. Got groups of Maureen, Dennis, and S. Henry, and then you've got K-Con, Greg Williams, and Matt Szymanski 3 seconds up, and it looks like this one might stick. It's very hard to see anything at the moment with all the dust. But
no, it looks like that might be possible. Those 3 riders do, on paper, seem to be the slightly stronger ones, so I suspect they might try and work together a bit to try and close down that gap back to Kevin. So long way still to go. Suspect they might catch him up. Certainly, it'll take quite an effort for Kevin to stay ahead if those 3 start working together to chase him down.
Ed, how's Kevin doing up front?
He's still up there by 41 seconds. Max is pushing hard down the hill. Kevin also kind of looks like he might be trying to match watts per kilogram, which is kind of a little game I play too. Max is right there with Greg, along with Kay Kono. And then you've got that second group, as you said, Dennis Wade, Maureen Finney, and Chris Lindsay. My insider information tells me that Maureen's planning on just sucking a wheel for a while. It gets to rest a little bit before that next climb. It's pushing her hard, but she's a trooper. Like I said, Kevin is still out there, 36 seconds, pushing pretty good, but Max is pouring on the steam behind him. So we'll see how this plays out downhill.
Yeah, the split's now 7 seconds in front of Maureen's group with S. Henry and Dennis Wade. Looks like it's going to stick. Can still see the little train of dust coming off their wheels, but they're definitely pulling away. 9 seconds now. So, it looks like this will be a battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. But who knows? We've still got a long way to go. Still another 17 kilometres left in the bank. So, still early days. Gordon, what's going on behind?
Yeah, so still John heading up the hill. He's just past the turn off out the jungle, so he'll be approaching the bridge soon and then back down to the downhill. He was getting caught up by Jay Latouche behind, but the gap seems to have held firm about 7 or 8 seconds, so it'll be interesting to see if that closes back up, whether they can try and work together, because since getting dropped by that second group, probably near the bridge on the first lap, he has been all alone, so it's an absolute TT effort he's doing at the moment, which he's doing terrific numbers compared to his previous 20-minute best. It looked like he's holding similar numbers as a 20-minute best, so, and he's still got 2.5 laps to go, so doing very well at the moment. By the look of it, he's probably near the top of Cat D, which would definitely be the aim for this. Just as he approaches the bridge, there's a rider maybe 4 or 5 seconds ahead. Hopefully might be able to get onto the back wheel if he pushes on the other side of the bridge back to the downhill cruise. So right now, again, he is all alone though. So hopefully he can find one or two riders to work with. It will make it certainly go faster for the next couple of laps. But yeah, how's the front looking?
Well, I tell you, Kevin's out there, still about 20 seconds ahead of that next group, but Max, Greg, and Kei Kono have been working together, so they're getting a little bit of rest each time, and poor Kevin's out there all by himself just slogging away. Kono was putting out over 5 watts a kilogram in front while Max and Greg were having a little rest. Now Max is out front pulling with Kono and Greg Williams on his wheels, so those three are making up time. It's 16 seconds back now as they are in the flat. Looks like Kevin is starting over a little rise, and he'll start the second climb about half a kilometer here. James?
So just to touch on some of the other riders, our man on the course who's not talking to us, Chris Lambert, the gaps are mental. So Chris is a solid 3-0 rider. He is 3.5 minutes back from the Maureen Finney group. And he's about 19 seconds behind Brice Bortoff, who is about 1.5 minutes behind Lindsay, who is another 1:45 behind this group of three with Dennis, Maureen, and Scott. Maureen's obviously still pushing pretty hard, heart rate around 175. The gap to the trio up front is now about 35 seconds. So it's looking pretty crazy. They are almost on Kevin now. The gap's really, really come down. It looks like Kei Kono's actually dropped Max and Greg a bit, whether or not they'll be able to get back on to regroup up with Kevin. But it's looking like the end of this race could be quite exciting, but we'll certainly have to see how the next 15K play out. Ed, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so I'm actually watching Kevin from the front view back, so I can watch the riders behind him. They got Kei Kono coming up fast, pushing for 5 watts a kilogram. Kevin's at 3.5 to 4, still pushing hard, and maybe he'll get a little bit of draft off Kono here if those two can stick together. They're both ahead of Max and Greg Williams by 10 and 13 seconds. Looks like Max is making some time off of Greg. He's at 9 seconds back. Greg's at 13, so he's gapped him a hair. He's pushing hard, trying to see if he can make the jump. He's 9 seconds back. That's a tough jump going up the hill. Here we go. Kono just passed Kevin handily, and he's moving out at 4 watts a kilogram. Kevin's pushing 5, trying to get on his wheel, I think. We'll see how this plays out. Yep, he's just going to pull in, hopefully behind him here if I'm going to root for Kevin. Get on a wheel, and maybe there he's down to 2 watts a kilogram while Kono's pushing 3.5, 4. So he's getting a little rest in there, but it's going to be a battle for sure. Gordon?
Yeah, certainly looks a battle up the front there. Back to John here. He's over the bridge now, heading downhill. He's just actually past a rider. No, I think it is. So 5 seconds, he seems to be dropping him as well. I'm just trying to look. Looks like he might be on a road bike, that rider behind, so that might be why, or it could just be the Swift View. But again, he's past a rider, but the next rider is a minute ahead up the road, as James was indicating. Some of the gaps are quite big. We're seeing sort of a minute in front, a minute behind, and certainly 1s and 2s, so there is huge gaps. I think the only blob we're seeing at the moment is up near the front where all the action seems to be happening. But yeah, John's doing very well here. I mean, he's hitting top Cat D pace, so I think at the moment he's looking on good to finish in gold place, golden Cat D. There's one rider behind him, Joe Latusha. At the moment he's got over a minute advantage on him. That's probably going to be his main competition, unless maybe some of the group in front, the likes of Chris Lambert and Paul Shuckero, drop their power a wee bit. They are still pushing out average over 2.7 though for the first nearly half hour of this race. So at the moment, John's looking very good for a gold podium finish. So we'll see how he gets on. But I think at this race, all the action will be at the front. But yeah, how's it looking up there?
So,
go ahead, James.
sorry, I was just going to say, Marine looks like she's fairly comfortably settled into this group. But one thing I have spotted is that looks like Greg Williams has dropped off significantly from the other riders up front. Looks like Max only 5 seconds back from Kevin now, but it looks like it's pretty exciting up front, Ed.
Yes, it is. With Kei Kono out front, Kevin's just on his wheel, and Max is coming up fast, pushing hard. He's just 4 seconds back. I think Max will close this gap down, and these three are going to fight it out probably for the rest of the race. This is going to be a good one. They're all three really strong riders. Max has really done a good showing, catching up like he did. He was a full minute plus back, reeled everybody in, and they were not lagging along at all. So this is a pretty tough group. The next group back, as you said, Greg Williams is fading back. He'll probably form up with Vinny, Dennis Wade, and Scott Henry in that group that's 50 seconds back. That's probably be the smart move for him. Again, Kevin's getting some rest here in this group. Max is just a second back with Kono pulling his weight out front. So, all right, Gordon.
Yeah, so John's just starting the second lap by the look of it. Again, the rider in front's about 50 seconds. He has pulled away from a couple of chasing riders by 15 or 20 seconds now at the moment. So he's flat out. He's doing very well. He's averaging 2.4, which is perfect for Cat D. He actually just dropped to 2.3, but looking at his stats, 2.4 is his maximum for 20 minutes. So he's already been going nearly half an hour. So I think he's pushing right on his limit, which is absolutely great. I think it'll be another slog up this hill on his own. I don't see him catching anyone, but again, behind there's significant gap. So looks like another TT effort coming on up this hill. I suspect we start the second lap. We're probably only about halfway here, so probably just pacing himself. He doesn't need to push on too much, especially working alone. There's not really anyone he will catch ahead of him, and we'll just see how he gets on up this hill. But yeah, how are we doing at the front, or how's Maureen getting on?
Maureen's doing fine. She's still in this group of three. They are just about to pick up Greg Williams, who got spat out of the group earlier on. And I suspect he's probably just been sitting up for a little bit just to try and conserve some energy, because he probably burnt quite a few matches just trying to stay with Max and Kei Kono. But yeah, they're just rejoining just now, and let's switch up to Ed to find how the terrible trio are doing.
Yeah, they're fighting it out. Kei Kono is 3 seconds ahead of Kevin, who is now gap Max by 4 seconds. I don't know what happened there. Max got caught with his pants down or what was going on, but he's 5 seconds back. Kevin's trying to close the gap with Kei Kono. Max, of course, is now putting out the wattage to try and catch up with Kevin. I really thought they'd stick together a little harder, but these three are battling it out. They got about a 3 second gap between each one of them. So they are working it. We just went past B. Davis, lapped the first guy as we're heading we're almost to the top of this second climb. So pretty soon we should see the bridge coming up. What do you got, Gordon?
Yeah, so we're now, looks like John's just passing the gate to the Alps, so he's just at the bottom of the hill here. Again, still all alone. The gaps have maybe closed in a wee bit, or whether that's just because the hill, as done Zwift, the gaps always seem to close in on the hill, but as soon as you get over the top, they drift away again. At the moment, he's got 11-second gap to the rider behind and 34 seconds to the rider in front, which was a minute, but I suspect that's just the hill. As soon as those riders go over the top, I suspect them pull away, but I mean, he's still pushing out good numbers, 2.3, 2.4, which is top end of Cat D. So he's absolutely smashing it up this hill. By the look of it, he's still holding that gap to the rider behind. It's maybe closing a wee bit. The rider behind is pushing higher twos. So, but again, it's quite a slog of the uphill here, and you're not going to get much help from the draft. So I think it's just a long TTF up this hill on his own. We're just past the Alp gate, so he's still probably got another 5 to 10 minutes climbing, I would have thought. At the moment, he's doing an absolutely great job, but just pushing on alone, and been quite a lonely ride, but I suspect it will continue on that way.
Yeah, so out the front here, Kevin caught up to Kei Kono. So they're kind of battling out. We just hit the bridge, starting the uphill part of the bridge. Max has dropped back 14 seconds. So I don't know if he burnt his match out at the beginning or whatnot. But he's only pushing 1.3 watts a kilogram now. So I don't know what happened to Max. But Kei Kono, Kevin Flood at almost 5 watts a kilogram coming over the top of the end of the bridge. And they will be starting the downhill on the second set of climbs with one climb left. That's got to look good in their eyes that they only have to do this one more time. What do you got, James?
Yeah, so I mean, like you say, well over halfway now. 18 kilometers down with we think probably just a shade under 12 to go. The Maureen's group is now a group of 4 now with Greg Williams back. So we've got Maureen, we've got S. Henry, Dennis Wade, and Greg Williams. Max is still a minute 42 ahead, but like you say, Ed, his numbers have definitely dropped. But based on his start, where he had to pick up best part of a minute, and then went chasing after Kevin as well, I'm not surprised he's a little bit on the tired side. But we're just catching up with B Davis for to go past him for a lap down. But pretty much business as usual. We are just coming up to the bridge, rapid descent, and then a very short and quick climb before we start to go back to the descent, and then the final climb again. I think the finish could be very interesting, depending on the riders' weights as well, because obviously the finish is at the bottom of the hill, so I'm going to guess that Kei Kono is probably one of the lighter riders. I'm sure Gordon's got Zwift Power open and can tell us in a second.
He's 61 kilos and he looks like he's got a massive sprint at 14 watts a kilo for 15 seconds. So it'll be an interesting one. Kevin Flood's not much heavier, 67 kilos, and again, he's got a good sprint. Certainly, if I was Kevin at the moment, looking at the figures on paper, I'd just be sitting on Kono's wheel and doing absolutely no work at all. Just keeping that gap. As long as the gap to Max is still there and not closing in, then Kevin doesn't have to do any work. Kono's the stronger rider on paper, so just sit on his wheel and do the absolute minimum, really. That would certainly be my game plan at the minute.
I agree, Gordon. That's probably what I'd be doing. Let Kei Kono work it out. Max is back 17 seconds. It doesn't look like he's trying real hard to close that up, but he's still a couple of 2.5 minutes ahead of that next group. So he's kind of on his own there. So
decision for Max as well, whether he tries to catch them up or just sits up and holds on for that third place.
Right.
Which is probably the best idea, not to push too much. He's had a good go and tried to catch them, which he didn't quite manage to get on. So he's probably just carry on at sort of FTP pace, but not push too much more, in the hope that maybe Kevin gets dropped. He might be able to join up with him later on.
It looks like Kevin and Kei Kono are working together. So Kevin's got taking a pull now and switching back and forth. So we'll see how this plays out.
That's an interesting one. Certainly, if I was Kevin, more towards the last lap, I would be doing less and less effort, because I think Kei Kono, looking at the stats, is the stronger rider. So do the minimum and try and tire him out would be the game plan.
Yeah.
So it looks like Max is not quite done yet. He's still throwing down 3 to 3.5, so it could well be that his strategy. Well, he's only 15 seconds off the front two now. So I was thinking that he was probably just trying to stay in front of this Maureen Finney group with Dennis Wade, S. Henry, and Greg Williams. But he's definitely still putting out some decent numbers. It's not that far off the front two. I mean, obviously, but they'll have a little bit of draft to help pull them along if they do take turns up front. But I don't think we've seen the last of Max Szymanski just yet. So keep an eye open.
No, certainly wouldn't write him off if he gets a sniff of the front two easing up a bit. I'm sure he'll be chasing. He's been chasing since the start of the race, so hopefully he's had a bit of a rest in, and we do maybe see another attack to see if he can close that gap. Will be interesting. Back to John here. He's still slogging up this hill. He's just sort of halfway up, probably near Sammy the Sloth. still pushing out massive numbers. 2.4 top of Cat D's type power. Looking at his heart rate, it's through the roof. I think he's averaging 182 beats, which is more than any previous race that I've seen. So he's definitely hammering up this hill. I mean, absolute great effort at the moment, and looks spot on for gold place in D at the moment, unless the next rider he's got still about a minute gap ahead. So looking good, and hopefully we'll get a gold trophy. We'll see.
Almost like he knows he's on the telly.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin's only running about a 145 beat per minute. So he's conserving here, but I did notice he used his power up, which was the bus, and used that for a bit behind Kei Kono. Right now he's out in front doing a pull, so not exactly doing what I'd want to, but he's a much stronger rider than I am and more experienced, so I'm not going to question his thought process here. But between Kevin and Kei Kono, they're still moving along. Max is only 10 seconds back, so he's not out of the question. Pushing pretty hard right now.
Massive effort from Max. I mean, when you consider the fact that we think he possibly had a technical or a late start on the line to make up what was best part of a minute to get back to Maureen's group, and then another 30 seconds, 40 seconds to get up to Kevin. The fact he's got anything left is just unbelievable. So superhuman effort from Max, and he's definitely still pushing out the big numbers. And like you say, he's only now 8-9 seconds back.
Right.
But just coming back to Maureen, she's also having a stellar performance, holding low freeze, which is around the top of her power range, and having a great ride to stay with this group of now 4. We are literally just crossing the banner for the final lap, so we've got about 7.5k to go back here. Nearly 40 minutes gone, so it's definitely one of the longer HBRs, down to some kind of evil dictatorship from the race director. Don't know who he is, but he's probably a terrible person. Definitely the longest one we've had yet, and will be definitely the longest in the series as well. So they are all hanging on particularly well, and we are on to the final lap.
Yeah, I'm just sorry, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, we're just starting the third climb. So we've got Kevin and Kei Kono heading up the hill. Max is still 10 seconds back. So just kind of holding their own there. Kei Kono pushed about 5 watts a kilogram. Kevin's back there at 3.5 to 4, holding his wheel. So back to you, Gordon.
Yeah, John's still heading up this hill. That's interesting. We're starting to see actually Kono and Kevin Flood probably appearing behind him. So whether they get close enough to the lap or not, I'm not sure. But they are still going up the hill. John again, a minute ahead to the rider, a minute behind. So absolutely all alone, still smashing out the numbers in Cat D. So he's looking very good at the moment. We'll just see how he gets on. It looks like he's pacing it very well. But as suggested there, this is only the second lap of 3, so a long way to go. I'm just wondering by tomorrow whether we can reduce it to only 2 laps, but that'll be back to the race director. But it certainly looks a bit of a slog, this one. I suspect it'll be probably somewhere around an hour, maybe even just over an hour for John to finish this race.
For sure. Go ahead, James.
Oh, no, I was just curious to find out what's going on up front, because it looks like Max has dropped back a little bit.
Little bit. It's 13 seconds back. Kei Kono and Kevin Flood still holding the lead, pushing 3.5 to 4 watts a kilogram, maybe a little more. Both really strong riders. Max is as strong as you said. He really lit that match at the beginning to make up that time. He's only 10 seconds back. If he can hold on here and maybe once they top the hill, catch up to him. I think, let's see, what I'm trying to see, Max is, he's an 81, 82 kilogram guy, so he might have a little bit of advantage on the downhill if he's close enough to D2. Kevin and Kei Kono are lighter weight, and so maybe take advantage of some gravity, but he's going to have to get closer, I think, than in the 10 seconds that he's back to be able to close that gap on the last downhill. But they're working hard.
Yeah, I think on the weight note as well, Maureen surrounded by three guys who you have to assume are a reasonable amount heavier than her. With the second half of a lap being all downhill, it could be a bit of a I want to say uphill struggle, but that's really not the right thing to say. Could be quite a bit of a slog towards the end, but she's still hanging in there, doing a great job with the S. Henry, Dennis Wade, and Greg Williams, who has actually dropped off a bit. Greg is now 9-10 seconds back, so we're on a group of three now. So Maureen now just has two guys to beat on the downhill, and doing a fantastic job. Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting with Maureen. I was just looking at her stats there as well. They are quite similar. Obviously, the two male riders are a bit heavier, 70, 80 kilos, but looking at their sprints, they are quite similar. And Maureen's sprint is only 0.3 of a watt less than Scott Henry's. So, depending how much they've got left in the legs, that could be a bit of an interesting one. Back to John now. He's over the bridge. He's on the downhill. It was before maybe the gap's even extended. It looks like we're nearly 2 minutes to the rider ahead and behind. Looks nailed on for first prize here. There's no one ahead, or maybe actually Chris Lambert's power is dropping off a wee bit. It looks like he's riding a bit on as alone. A full 2 minutes ahead, so I don't think he's going to catch him, but with another full lap to go round, you might find his power drops even more into the Cat D range, but only time will tell with that. But still going down the hill, absolutely all alone, as he has been for the half hour. He's probably hating this at the minute, but he's still got a full another lap, so I suspect there'll be another 15-20 minutes he's got to go on this one. And just as we can see the likes of the front coming up behind him, 5 minutes behind Kay Kono and Kevin Flood. I don't think they're quite going to catch him on the downhill, which is a good thing. Never good to see a rider getting lapped, so still a long way to go, but he's looking good for a podium finish.
Yeah, some of the let's see, the way we score this thing is through Zwift power categories, right, James?
No, we do it on average power. So
we're running average. Okay, right. So that's going to push Maureen into Cat B, and this is one of the complaints that the lighter weight riders have made, is that they've got to put out a lot more power to the heavier guys, and end up pushing themselves into the next category. But that's life, isn't it? So it looks like at this point, Maureen's probably strongly fourth place B. I don't think we're going to have any A riders in this group. As long as she stays ahead of Bruce, and she's 2-3 minutes ahead of him, she's normally got fourth place in the B Cat, under her belt with Scott Henry behind Dennis Wade for Cat C as it stands. Right now we've got Kevin Flood and Kay Kono still battling it out. Max Szymanski still 10 seconds back, so not a lot of change here. We're starting to get close to the top, like maybe half to 3/4 of a kilometer till we hit the bridge at this. Gordon?
Yeah, so John's just on the downhill now. He's probably about 3/4 of the way down. Still all alone, still big gaps in front and behind, but he's probably going to hit the bottom and probably thankful he'll be on to the last lap after that. You can see the leaders coming up behind, so they'll be hitting the downhill. Obviously, I can see Max Szymanski still pushing, as you can see there in that group, so it'll be interesting to see if he ever gets back on. Maybe the downhill will be his advantage. It'll be his last chance to have a big push, but at the moment, John still pushing out good numbers. I can see him going up 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 at the time. And overall, he's still averaging, I think, 2.3 watts for 46 minutes, which his best 20 minutes is 2.4. So he's absolutely smashing it still. Still got a massive heart rate, 181 he's pushing. So he's definitely not easing off, even though he is riding alone. He's still pushing on and doing the best he can at the moment. So I don't think anyone's going to catch him from behind. It's just wherever he can get near anyone in front. But I think with one lap to go, it's probably a bit too much of an ask. He's probably very happy where he is, and I expect him to get probably a gold and maybe a silver if he's unlucky, if Chris manages to drop his power a wee bit. But he's looking very good at the moment. But yeah, there's Maureen getting on, James.
Yeah, good. She got dropped by about sort of 2 or 3 seconds, then put out a big sort of a 1-2 minute push to get back on the group. And yeah, did it. Great job. And still in this group of three as we just a lap a B Bates. Doing a great job, down to the last 5 kilometers now, with the leaders with about 3.5 to go. So gap up front is about 3 minutes now. But the nearest behind, Greg's now dropped about a minute back, and Bruce Bortoff is 2.5 back. So so this group of 3 are pretty much guaranteed their 4th, 5th, and 6th spot, but in which order we are yet to find out. Up front, it looks pretty much as you were.
Yeah, Kei Kono is just putting the hammer down. 5 to 7 watts a kilogram. Right now hitting 5.5. Kevin's behind him at 4.1. He's back by 2 seconds. Max is back 25 seconds, pushing 3-4. I don't think Max is going to have a shot in whatever catch these two guys. They are really hammered. Kevin just hit 6 watts per kilogram. Kei Kono at 5. Still 2 seconds ahead of Kevin. This is going to be a mad dash to the finish as they're about a third of the way on the downhill. James?
Yeah, no, pretty much as you were. Down to the last 4 kilometers now as we just tick towards 50 minutes of pretty hard cycling in the dirt, and I think all these riders will be glad they remembered to change their bikes at the start. Still battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Max is 3 minutes 45 up the road. Kevin 4 minutes 10, 4 minutes 15. So I think, like you were saying, Max has, I think now no chance of getting back on, even with a downhill section. So the front 2 are definitely flying. Maureen doing a great job here, but yeah, it looks like it's a battle for a 1st and 2nd up front now.
Yeah, Kei Kono's just putting the hammer down. He's got a 4-second gap on Kevin. Kevin really worked hard most of that race all by himself. Didn't take advantage of much draft off of anyone, and it may have been the wrong decision on his part. Not sure. Kei Kono, though, he is a spectacularly strong rider. As Gordon was saying, his 20-minute average to this ride was 5.1, so he can really put out the watts per kilogram. And he's pushing 4 to 5 now on this downhill, so it's going to be a tough one for Kevin to hang in there. As they're coming in, they're probably 1.5 kilometers back, coming down off the end of this hill. So we're going to see what happens. But right now, there's a 5-second lead by Kei Kono. I'm not sure Kevin's going to be able to get that back. I'm not sure he's even necessarily trying. He's backed off a little bit. He's down in the 2.8 to 3 range. So he may have decided it wasn't going to happen. But Max is back 30 seconds, and then that next group back that you're following, James.
So there's been a couple of mini attacks. Dennis Wade went quite big on the bridge, and then quickly laid off. But now S. Henry's got a little bit of a gap up front as we go down the downhill. Just going to quickly switch back to you, Ed, because I think you're down to about the last 500
I'm
meters
down
or so.
there. You're right. I got Kei Kono coming up to the very end. Can't quite see the banner yet. Actually following Kei Kono just so I can see when the beginning of the banner is. Kevin is 6 seconds back with Max at 34 seconds. So we're coming up to the end of this race. Kei Kono pushing 4.5, 5 watts a kilogram, still going strong. We've just got a little bit. We're coming up on the banner. Kei Kono doesn't look like he's launching too hard at the end here, but he's a firm winner of this with Kevin back 7 seconds. Kevin's coming through the banner right now, pushing, and he's done. Excellent finish. Max is coming. He's about just a few seconds back. We see the banner here. Max is pushing about 3.5 watts a kilogram. I think these guys are pretty tuckered out. It's just a matter of just get this race over with. Max is done. All right, so the next group is still at about 4 minutes back, it looks like, and that'll be your group, James.
Yeah, so As Henry did have a bit of a break just before we switched over to you just then, and they have now pulled it back. So we've got around about 1,700 meters to go. Maureen and Dennis definitely had to put in some big numbers. We're seeing Maureen pushing out about 275 watts, which must be sort of around about 5 watts a kilo, just to get back onto S. Henry. So I think that they're all pushing hard. S. Henry's definitely now dropped into more sort of 1920. So maybe he's just conserving for a big push at the end. Now down to about 1,400 meters. Clock just ticked over 53 minutes. We are just about to hit 270 meters climbed for the ride, which is pretty much going to be our total. We're definitely on the downhill section now. -2, -3% gradients. Speeds up well over 40 kph. 1,100 meters left. Maureen definitely going to be finishing as a pretty solid B. So a great ride for her. I mean, Maureen's normally sort of 3-3-3-4 over 20 to 30 minutes. So the fact she's looking around about 3-2, 3-3 for best part of an hour is a really, really big push, especially given the fact she's just been away for a couple of weeks on holiday.
Right, in these 3 big hills. So that's a good push on her part.
Yeah, definitely. Into the last kilometre, probably about 800 meters to go. The trio are still there, coming towards the final push. Still well over 40 kilometers now, 45, 46, -3. Still just hitting the wooden track now before we get to the end. Battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th here in HBR 28. The second last race weekend of the season, so all points are important. Down to the last 400-500 meters, everyone's starting to push now. Numbers starting to tick up a little bit. Just waiting until we see the banner. Maureen is second in this group of 3. Dennis Wade just up front, pulling out 3 watts a kilo. Everyone's power is about the same. S. Henry a little bit lower, but again, everyone together. Maureen's starting to push. 300, 380. Trying to gap just behind.
Oh, yep, she's pushing hard. It looks like
throwing out the feather for the last slight incline. Has she got it? 400 watts to the line. Push. I think she's got it.
She's got it. Oh man!
Yes, she does.
I think so. She did. She pulled another jersey out on that one.
S. Henry made a massive push towards the line, and I think Maureen just held off by half a wheel, but it was really, really, really tight.
Yep, according to Zwift Power, she hit it right before he did. That was impressive. Wow.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have to wait for results to come in the next sort of 5-10 minutes, but we're just going to leave this excitement for one moment. We'll just go back to Gordon and see what's going on.
Yep, not quite as exciting back here. Still pushing up the hill. It's John's somewhere between the Alp and the jungle turn off on making his way up. He just he passed one rider, B. Davis, though. I think it possibly might have lapped him. So that's probably the only rider he's seen for about the last half hour. So just going along on his own, as he has done previously. Still putting out good numbers, over 2 to 2.5 watts per kilo, but still got a while to go up this hill. I think he'll be another 10 minutes, looking at possibly maybe an hour and 10, hour and 15 finish. So it's quite a slog for the second last hard beginner races. So hopefully we might get it easy next week, but it depends what the race director chooses. So we'll find out.
I've heard on the grapevine the race director is going to be a little bit nicer next week. He was probably in a good mood when he was selecting the races.
It sounds a good idea. I think I'll be trying this myself tomorrow. I was wondering about doing it a couple of times, but after watching this, I think once will be plenty. See if we can try and get a gold trophy for myself. I was on the podium, but now I've dropped down to 4th. So I'll be going for gold tomorrow and see how I get on.
Yeah, that was a good race. Tell you, some good finishes there between the first group and the second group. Couldn't ask for a better one to do commentary on, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see the results, and we don't have anything official on Zwift Power yet, so it'll be interesting to see if Maureen did manage to hold on and pip those other two riders at the line. But certainly the front three are split up with Kono winning it. With
it was dang close. I don't have the right down to the wire.
It might have been interesting if Max managed to get a good start out the gate, but having to push to catch almost a minute or probably more probably has taken quite a bit out of him. And a lot of it was riding alone to catch, so I think it's a terrific effort from him to even get up to third place.
So John looks like he's down for the last 5K, so hopefully the last 10 minutes for him, and he'll be glad to get off the bike at the end of this.
Yeah, and he's how far has he gone now? He's at 25.1k, just approaching the turn off out the jungle, so he's probably still got another 5 minutes climbing, then he'll probably ease downhill, but he's still pushing out good numbers, 2.3, 2.4, so sort of not letting up, and I don't know what his hour sort of personal best pace is, but he must be pushing somewhere near that. Will he do enough for an FTP increase to this? I'm not quite sure. How do the categories work? Is this a 20-minute best effort, or is it average for the whole ride?
It's average across the race.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, he's spot on at the moment. He's averaging 2.3, and everyone above him at the moment, there's Chris on 2.5, but I believe he must be nearly finished. So, let's just see if I can jump back to Chris to see where he is.
Chris has got about 2 kilometres to go.
Yeah, so Chris is over the top, past over the bridge. He's on his way back down, and he's holding 2.5. So I suspect as long as Chris doesn't drop to as low as 2.4, then it looks like John is nailed on for that gold trophy on the Cat D. So terrific effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at Chris's numbers at the moment, he's currently holding over 3. So I think Chris is going to just hang on to his category C mark, and John doing a great job with just over 4k to go now, so not too far from the descent, which I'm sure will be very, very welcome. Can't be too far from the bridge.
He's just past the turnoff out the jungle, so he's probably got probably just a minute or two from the bridge, which I say I'll be thankful as soon as it comes to the downhill bit. He's certainly not letting up, so all credit to him. He's still pushing on at 2.3, 2.4, which he has done the whole ride, so pretty much on his own the whole ride. I've not seen any riders apart from 1 or 2 that he's passed on the hill, which I suspect he might have lapped, so terrific effort from here, and certainly well worth the gold trophy if that's what comes his way.
Yeah, John's doing well. He's still pushing that 2.4, just staying in the DCAT. And I think he's firmly got that under his belt. He should be coming up to the bridge fairly shortly here, and then he'll have the downhill into the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not quite sure how John's doing in the league. I have raced against him before, but it was probably back in about HBR 17 or 18 was the last time I saw him. So he doesn't do too many races, but he looks like he quite often does the beginner race and sometimes even the Alp climb. So he's certainly a regular on this one. So I'll hopefully try and get a chance to race him against him sometime. See how similar I am.
John's just hitting the bridge. Yeah.
So it's the beginning of the end. Quick descent, quick ascent, and then downhill to the finish, which, like I said a couple of times, I'm sure will be a big relief for him with really the last hill, just climbing back out of this bridge where it hits about 9-10%. So not too far to go now for John, and he's been on for over an hour now. So I think he'll be fed up of the sight of a mountain bike.
Yeah, I think Chris is just about at the end of the race himself. Should have just a few seconds left.
Here.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, I was just having a look just to see where Chris was out of interest, which he is just coming out I don't know what you call it, the sort of cavern at the bottom, just quite near the banner. But he's all alone, but he's still pushing. He's up to 3.5 watts per kilo now, so I think he will finish within the Cat C category power. So that's good for John behind us. But totally alone, sort of minute for the rider behind, so he's nailed on to the position he's got. In Cat C, I'm not sure where he'll end up, probably about 5th or 6th, so that's still a good finish for Chris there. Good effort.
Yeah, definitely. And John's now onto the descent with 3 kilometers to go. So I think we'll be seeing him home in the next 5 minutes. I think he's only got about 5 more meters worth of climbing, which I'm sure will be a big relief at this stage. I really can't wait to do this tomorrow.
Looking at
what time
Power, it's an hour and 8 minutes is what he's scheduled to do. So yeah, he's probably got another 5 or 6 minutes. And like James there, I'm wondering whether I want to do this tomorrow or not, or just go for it all on next week on HBR 29.
Oh, yeah, I just got to work Maureen Finney half of this group, and she's indicating dead last in Group B, except for the guy on the road bike. So I don't think she has anything to complain about her performance, but sounds like she's not feeling good about it. But,
she absolutely should, because that was a fantastic performance.
I tell you what, I would have been dropped off the mile. I'd be back, who knows where. Would not been able to keep up with that pace off the beginning. They were all of those. That group was pushing close to 4 watts a kilogram. I would have just been dead right from the start. So I'm not going to comment on that whatsoever. These riders are all really tough. This was a tough course, and mentally and physically. You know, to have to look at that and go, okay, I finished one climb and I have to do it 2 more times. Is mentally is hard on you, as opposed to just a big circuit where everything's changing all the time. So this was a little bit harder, both mentally and physically, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough route. I mean, the one saving grace is that you do have a recovery on the downhill, so it's really a case of recovering where you can, and then a big push on the uphill sections. But it's a long one for the HBR rides that we have been running, which are normally around about sort of 18 to 20 kilometers. So this is definitely the longest by quite a fair stretch. I think probably the only one that really competes with this is when we ran the High Line with 2 climbs of the New York KOM, which was with a 10-kilometer lead in, which was slightly unexpected. But coming back to John, he's just got just over a kilometer to go. So I think we're definitely down to the last couple of minutes. So probably just a shade inside 1 hour 7.
Yeah, he's just sort of halfway down the hill. Looks like he's using his draft power up when he's not drafting anyone, and he's not had anyone to draft all race. So why not just throw the power in and just see what happens? Looking at Zwift power, it looks like Maureen did manage to hold on to that place and beat Scott Henry and Dennis Wade. So that's a terrific effort there. And looks like 4th overall, and probably 4th in Cat B, which is a terrific effort as well. But back to John, I mean, he's just looks like he's entering a sort of cavern at the bottom of the hill, so not far to go now, probably about 1k, 500 metres. So I think he'll be thankful in a minute. Again, no one around about. The rider in front's 30 seconds and almost 5 minutes to the rider behind. So good job if anyone's still out there riding it. Certainly some riders might be near to sort of an hour and 20 minutes, so it's certainly one of the longer HBR races.
Yeah, just coming into the last sort of 400 or 500 meters now. Near enough flat. Might be a tiny little gradient to tick us over to about 270, 271 meters in total climbing for the ride, but definitely home stretch and down to the last 500 meters. So Gordon, if you want to just call us in
not
for the
too
very
far.
final stages.
Still pushing it along, 2.5, 2.6. I'm just wondering if he's going to go for a bit of a sprint here himself. Does seem to be up in the numbers slightly. 2.8. He's just coming out the sort of cavern now. Come around the corner of the banner, should be within sight, and he's certainly pushing up the numbers a wee bit. He's up to 2.8 now. Wherever he'll have a go for it. I said there's absolutely nothing to sprint for, but like myself, quite often you just want to sprint because it's the end of the race. Probably just to get it over and done with and get off the bike after this. A tremendous effort that he has, and certainly will be nailed on for that gold trophy now. So he's got maybe 100, 200 metres, probably even less actually. He's just approaching the banner now, and that's some through at the moment. And by the looks of it, he's probably going to stop and get straight off the bike after that. Yeah, he's pulling up to a stop.
Well done, John. With that, that concludes our coverage for tonight. As ever, a big thanks to Damon for providing the split screens that we present to you on a weekly or near weekly basis. Thanks to our riders, John, Kevin, and Maureen, and Chris Lambert, who was meant to be our man on the field, but didn't quite work out that way, and for all the other riders for giving us some great finishes tonight, and also to my co-commentary team of Gordon Sloan and Ed Finney. And thanks to everyone for watching. Good night.